Thank you for having me. I really enjoy coming here to speak. I think I've been thinking about giving Dharma talks about some of like the first principles of Buddhism, like the basic foundation, because sometimes we're kind of talking about these things, but not directly. And so kind of like the underlying subject's never been stated. And as a math computer programmer, I really like to I like to have like kind of the premise stated up front. And a lot of times in Eastern, the way Eastern instruction is done is usually these underlying premises are kind of inferred or implied. And so they talk about them kind of tangentially, and then you're supposed to kind of intuit that premise. And it's more meaningful that way. But if you're new to a tradition, it's difficult to do that, I think. And it's not my style. I mean, you know when you take geometry, right? There's the given, and then there's what you're supposed to prove. So I usually give Dharma, my talks are usually like this. When I went to IBS, I thought being a computer programmer, the Institute of Buddhist Studies, I thought being a programmer and being logical and rational was really going to hurt me in graduate school because, you know, religious studies is kind of a liberal arts thing. You have to read a lot, you have to write a lot. And the first paper I wrote, you know, it was the first paper I wrote in a college situation since I was a sophomore in college, like back in 1979. So I wrote my first paper and I turned it in, and the instructor, Dr. Lisa Grumbaugh, said, you know, it's good and everything, but she goes, it's formatted and it reads like computer documentation. I mean, there's like all these bullets and really short sentences. And she goes, I feel like I'm reading T-Doc. And I went, well, I'm a computer programmer. And she went, oh. So that's exactly how it read. The other thing I wanted to mention before I start too is I had a physics teacher at El Camino College, where I wrote my last English paper. It's in Torrance. I went there for 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, and then I didn't graduate. I didn't get an AA. I was going for the BS. So Bachelor's of Science. I transferred to UCLA as a junior for math computer science. But when I was at El Camino, we had a physics teacher I've mentioned before named Tom Wilson. I've told stories about him before, but one thing he said, there's a kind of this fallacy that if somebody asks you a very simple question, that there should be a simple answer to the question. And he said, well, you know, this is a very simple question. What is life about? What's the meaning of life? It's a very simple question, but it's very hard to answer. So I'm going to try to tackle the question, what is karma? So very simple question, but it's not easy to explain. And I've noticed in Buddhist texts, they talk about karma a lot, but they never really explain exactly what it is. So I'm kind of going to give you my impression of what I think it is. And I think the reason why they never really explain it is because it's hard. It's hard to explain. So karma is not divine retribution. It's not like if you do something bad, you're going to get, then like a week from now, you're going to get in a car accident. It's not like that. It's not the golden rule. It's not what comes around goes around. Karma, I think, has more to do with creating a situation or the circumstances of your life. It's habits that you create. It's kind of the world you live in. The way you see the world and the way you interact with the world is you're kind of creating a narrative. And this narrative is your karma. So, and like, for instance, for me, I could construct a narrative if I focus on all the bad things that happen in my life. I could form a very negative narrative for my life. Or I could focus on all the things that have gone well and positive for me. And that would also be true, and that would kind of be good karma. So a lot of it is the way we cognize and we interpret the world, and it's the situation and the circumstances that we create for ourselves. And there's actually 3 kinds of karma, or 3 ways of generating karma. And I guess there's 2 kinds of karma. Maybe there's good and bad. But there's 3 ways of generating karma in the Buddhist tradition. And then I think I kind of left out a word here. what goes with karma is this idea of merit. There's an idea of merit in Buddhism that we don't talk about it. We don't talk about karma much in Pure Land Buddhism. We really don't. And we don't talk about merit a lot. And hopefully when we get to the end of this talk, we'll know why. But merit in India, they used a metaphor of almost a monetary metaphor. It became very literal, but it's almost like you have double entry books or something. You have like your assets and your debits. And it got a little carried away. It was almost like they thought about it like money. Like if I step on a bug, that's like this much negative karma, and then I donated $1 to the tip jar at Starbucks. And so now, you know, I'm back in the green? Black. I'm back in the black. And so this became very literal. A lot of people think about it this way, that, you know, you do good things and bad things, and you just want to be enough in the black that, you know, you don't want to have any negative debt. You don't want to go in the red. And then there's kind of two types of transference. One of the ideas in Indian Buddhism is that if you acquired merit, if you acquired a lot of extra merit and you had a lot of assets, you could transfer this merit to others. Is it like Venmo? Or like you could transfer merit. So it kind of makes sense. If you're a very good person and you're doing really good things, you can transfer that happiness. You know, you're kind of influencing their circumstances and the situation around you, and you're kind of transferring that positive attitude or feeling or circumstance to those that you interact with. You know, and if you are really negative and angry, your family might have kind of a lot of tension or a lot of distress, and so you're transferring negative karma. But there's also a transference of karma from reality itself, like when you look at the Grand Canyon, right? You know, so there's this other idea of merit transference, not from you to others, but from the eternal now, like what we just read, to ourselves, that we're receiving, that reality is generating karma and transferring merit to us. So there's kind of this two-way street. And I think we focus a lot more on the merit that we receive rather than the merit we generate. So that's kind of why I think we don't talk about karma all that much. So I wanted to begin to show you the three types of karma. You'll see this a lot. So the first one is, may I think pure and beautiful thoughts. So one of the ways of generating positive karma, personal karma, is with the mind. And what we think and the thoughts that we have affect the way we see the world and the way we interpret life. And so, you know, if you're generating pure and beautiful thoughts, your world becomes pure and beautiful. And then we did this in the service book. We used the word may rather than I will. So this is an aspiration. It's a vow. It's an intention. So we don't have time for this right now, but a major part of karma is intention. This is something unique that the Buddha did. If you step on a bug, well, I think it was yesterday, we had a bug in the house, and I tried to gently pick it up and take it outside, and I don't know, I squished it. And I also did this with a lizard at OCBC. There was a lizard, a little baby lizard in the OCBC Hondo lobby, and it was this little lizard, and I saw it, and I went, oh no. And he didn't look well. I mean, he didn't look well, but... No, I mean, he didn't run away. I mean, he just kind of... And so I picked him up gently, and I took him outside, and when I got him to the garden, he was dead.
Oh my God.
And I felt really, really bad. My intentions were good, but I killed the lizard. Now, in some schools of religion in India, you generate negative karma from that because you just killed a lizard in your bare hands. But in Buddhism, that my intention was not to harm. And so even though the outcome, so this is something unique to Buddhism. It's the intention, not the outcome. So, you know, I've used the example before. If you're driving, if you're texting on your phone all the time, and you never get in a car accident, you're still generating negative karma, right? Because your intentions are not good. And so that also means that if you're trying to be a good driver and you end up, somebody slams on their brakes and cuts you off, and you should have gone left, but you went right, and it was in the moment, and you get in a car accident. I mean, you got in a car accident, and you're in trouble and everything, but from a Buddhist point of view, there's no negative karma because you were paying attention, you were doing your very best, you had no intention of being reckless. So this is something the Buddha brought to karma and reinterpreted karma as intention. So it's our intentions that are very important. So may I is not just kind of a wish or a hope, it's stating an intention. And then the next one, the second way of generating karma is through speech. Things that we say, the words that we use. So when I first started practicing Buddhism, one of the things the Buddha said, well, somebody in Buddhism said, that gossiping and making snarky remarks and having a sarcastic sense of humor is not doing this. And that a simple thing you could do is just stop being a hater, stop being snarky. That was very hard for me because I'm pretty snarky. I have kind of a sarcastic sense of humor. So, and I really stopped gossiping. I really try not to gossip. So, you know, these are small, concrete things you could do. And then this is with your body, actions you take with your body. So doing pure and beautiful deeds. So we have the mind, speech, and our bodies. So at OCBC, on our service book that you have, we put in the golden chain. We read this a lot for the kids. So may I think pure and beautiful thoughts. May I say pure and beautiful words. And may I do pure and beautiful deeds. And I think this is an important teaching, but there's some people at OCBC, and I don't think you sing the Golden Chain song here. Like we sing Ondoko song, which is a very important religious song in our tradition. Some people have pushed back on this because this is not what Pure Land Buddhism focuses on. That this idea of generating personal karma. But I think it's a good start. And it may not be sufficient, but it's necessary. And Shinran doesn't talk about this a lot in his writings, the founder of our tradition. But one scholar said there's 3 reasons why somebody doesn't talk about something. One is they've never heard of it, which is unlikely that Shinran Shonin never heard of the 3 ways of generating karma. The other one is he disagrees with it, he's against it, which is hard to imagine because this is a basic tenet of Buddhism. The third one is that he assumes it's known, that this is common knowledge. So a lot of scholars feel like when you read an author, a lot of times things are omitted because it's assumed it's common knowledge. So I kind of go with that interpretation. So today, I didn't plan this, it just worked out. I should have planned this, but we read that reading today by Reverend Suji. Right here, each idea that is thought, each word that is spoken, each action that is taken in the eternal now. So you'll see this over and over again, this triplet of the mind, of speech, and of the body. So, you know, this isn't just like coincidence or random or poetic license. I mean, these are the foundational, traditional ways that one generates the situations that they live in through thought, speech, and the actions that are taken. So, think, speak, and act. So, we acquire merit through our minds with thought, through our speech with words, and through our body with deeds. And again, these things appear in the golden chain. So I wanted to talk about how we receive merit rather than generating merit. So in the Pure Land tradition, we focus much more on the overwhelming karma and merit that we receive rather than what we generate. So in our tradition, Nembutsu, this is called our practice. Nen means to think or reflect, and Butsu means Buddha. So to hold the Buddha in mind, to listen to the teachings, is the way we receive mental karma. Speech, this is a big one in our tradition. When we chant the sutras and when we say Namo Amida Butsu, we are generating karma through speech and touching the eternal now. And then with the body, when we bow and gasho, when we offer incense. So, there's a lot of these practices within our tradition. Through our minds, focusing on the teachings, through speech, saying Namo Amida Butsu and chanting, and also through the body, through bowing and putting our hands together in gasho. So this could be interpreted, two ways. You could interpret this either as the merit you're generating or the merit you're receiving through ritual practices. So this was a Dharma talk. This is someone's head. I gave this Dharma talk to the Dharma school teachers. So I wrote, karma is intention. And then I wrote mind, mouth. I don't know how to put that. Mind, mouth, and body. And you have thoughts, speech, and actions, words and deeds. They're pure and beautiful. And then, so this is kind of the traditional idea of what an individual can do to generate their own merit. But then on the far right are the things that we do to receive merit and touch the eternal now. And so the left, I think what Shinran is saying, at least Pure Land Buddhism is saying, is that the merit you can generate yourself is like dripping little drips from a faucet. You can generate merit, but the volume is small. The impact is small. It's difficult, and it takes a lot of time. But when you tap into the eternal now and you perform ritual actions, it's like taking in water from Niagara Falls. It's just an order of magnitude more effective and overwhelming. So in our tradition, it's not that individual karma is not important. You should have beautiful thoughts and beautiful words and beautiful deeds. But I think it's an order of magnitude of influence and impact it has on your life. So, this poor little doggy is getting water. He's acquiring merit through his actions, but it's in dribs and drabs. It does have an impact. It is effective, but it's not. You're not tapping into an overwhelming source of virtue. And so, the reason why ritual action is so important in Buddhism is this is what happens when you drink from the Buddhist texts, from chanting the sutras, and from bowing and putting your hands together in gasho. So the idea is that rather than generating one's own merit through our own actions, we're receiving merit from the infinite, from reality itself. We're tapping into a source that's like Niagara Falls. And so it's like drinking from a fire hose. You just have to open yourself up to it and receive it. And so I think this is one of the reasons why we don't talk a lot about personal karma and the things we should do to be good. It's not that it's not important. It's just that this is a much more effective source. It's much more overwhelming. It has a huge impact in your life. When you meet as a group, we chant as a group, we listen to the teachings. I told you that for me, when I finally realized I was Buddhist, is I started to notice that when I came to church on Sunday, I had a better week. I was nicer, calmer, more relaxed. I wasn't as frustrated and stressed out when I went to church. And when I didn't go to church, because I wanted to run on the beach and listen to Breakfast with the Beatles, which is super fun. It generates a lot of good karma. But that week I could notice a big difference at work. I was less calm, I had less balance, I was less happy. And so I began to realize that there's something going on at church that's really affecting me. It had about a 5-day It lasted for about 5 days. And so this is what I think is happening. By receiving the practice and being part of a Sangha, it was helping me generate pure and beautiful thoughts, pure and beautiful words, and pure and beautiful deeds from the practice that I was taking part in on Sundays. And so I wasn't able to do that on my own, right? If I didn't go to church, I wasn't really able to generate that feeling through my own efforts. But when I put myself in this environment, this circumstance, the karma of a service, it really affected me. Merit was being transferred to me, and I was able to take it to work and have a better day and a better life. And so I think this is why we tend to focus not so much on individual karma, because we're really trying to touch this eternal now and tap into a source that's much more vast than our abilities, than our individual abilities. So that is my theory. This is my theory of karma in the Pure Land tradition. It's not that it doesn't exist, it's just that we're looking at a different source, or we're taking an end around to, we're just going straight to the bank, right? Rather than making deposits on our phone. So please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Naman Dabutsu. Naman Dabutsu. Thank you very much.